In an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, Joe Rogan and his guest delve into a wide range of topics, starting with the importance of maintaining order in comedy clubs to prevent heckling and the disruptive impact of social media on society. They discuss the rise of audience participation due to clips of crowd work being shared on social media and the guest's recent comedy special. The guest shares his experience performing at a psychiatrist convention, where he was analyzed after his performance. The conversation then shifts to the evolution of comedy, the importance of feedback, and the challenges of creating new material. They discuss the shift from traditional comedy, where jokes were written for comedians, to the current era where comedians write, perform, produce, and edit their own material. They also highlight the importance of live feedback from audiences in shaping their performances. The speakers touch on the impact of taking breaks from performing, comparing it to physical exercise where lack of practice can lead to a decline in performance. They also discuss the influence of foreign powers like Russia and China on American education, suggesting that these countries have won an ideological battle by influencing American education. The conversation then moves on to the topic of martial arts, inspired by figures like Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. They discuss the phenomenon of fake martial arts, where people pretend to be masters of the discipline without any real training or knowledge. They also touch on the intelligence of dolphins, which have a cerebral cortex 40% larger than humans and can exhibit different dialects. The speakers also discuss the changes in New York City, particularly in Times Square and Hell's Kitchen, over the years. They note that these areas have become gentrified and lost some of their unique character. They also touch on the history of pornography, discussing the impact of films like Deep Throat and the prevalence of porn on the internet today. The conversation then shifts to the guest's experiences with martial arts, specifically Taekwondo and kickboxing. He explains that he participated in many tournaments, often fighting multiple times in a day. He also mentions the injuries he sustained, including multiple broken noses. He then talks about his time training at the Jet Center in Hollywood, where he took kickboxing classes with gang members. The speaker discusses his early experiences in acting, including his confusion over stage directions and his first television show, Hardball, which was canceled. He then talks about getting a development deal with NBC and landing a role on a show with Phil Hartman, Andy Dick, and Dave Foley. The conversation ends with a discussion about authors like J.K. Rowling and Bill Clinton who wrote their books by hand, which the speakers find impressive. They also discuss the controversy surrounding author J.K. Rowling and her views on gender, as well as the broader issue of cancel culture. The video concludes with a discussion on the challenges of pursuing a successful career in comedy, highlighting the many obstacles and the need for resilience. They discuss the difficulties of starting out, the fear of bombing on stage, and the necessity of being able to tolerate failure. They also discuss the evolution of comedy over the years, with one of them starting in 1984 during the comedy boom. The conversation also touches on the process of creating a comedy set, with one comedian sharing his experience of developing a set around the theme of psychiatry after performing in front of 4 psychiatrists. They also discuss the importance of being fully committed to comedy, with the observation that those who kept a full-time job alongside their comedy career often didn't make it as successful comedians.